Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Parivrajacharya, Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I understand we are to read verse 64. Is that correct? 64. 64. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, Dhruva Maharaj returns home, verse 64. Vapyo Vaidurya Sopana Padmotpala Kumud Vati Hangsa Karandava Kulair Jushtash Chakrava Sarasai Vapyo Vaidurya Sopana Padmotpala Kumudvati Hangsa Karandava Kulaya Jushtas Chakrava Sarasai Vapyo Vaidurya Sopana Padmotpala Kamudvati Hangsa Karandava Kulaya Dushtas Chakrava Sarasai Vapyo Vaidurya Sopana Padmotpala Kumudvati Hangsa Karandava Kulaya Jushtas Chakrava Sarasai Mataji's. Sopana Padmopala Kumudvati Hangsakarandabakulayar Jasta Chakra Sarasai Adurya Sopana Kumudvati Hangsakarandabakulayar Jasta Chakra Sarasai Vapya lakes, Vaidurya, emerald, Sopana, with staircases, Padma, lotuses, Utpala, blue lotuses, Kumutvati, full of lilies, Hangsa, swans, Karandava, and ducks, Kulai, by flocks of, Jushta, inhabited, Chakrava, by Chakravakas, geese, Sarasai, and by cranes. Translation: there were emerald staircases which led to lakes full of variously colored lotus flowers and lilies, and swans, karandavas, chakravakas, cranes, and similar other valuable birds were visible in those lakes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears that not only was the palace surrounded by compounds and gardens with varieties of trees, but there were small man-made lakes also, where the water was full of many-colored lotus flowers and lilies. And to get down to the lakes, there were staircases made of valuable jewels such as emeralds. By the beautifully positioned garden houses, there were many luxuriant birds, such as swans, chakravakas, karandavas, and cranes. These birds generally do not live in filthy places like crows do. The atmosphere of the city was very healthy and beautiful. It can simply be imagined from its description. Vapyo Vaidurya Sopana Padmotpala Kumudvati Hangsa Karandava Kulayar Jushtas Chakrava Sarasai. There were emerald staircases which led to lakes full of various colored lotus flowers and lilies, and swans, karandavas, chakravakas, cranes, and similar other valuable birds were visible in those lakes. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Shatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Yes, so this is continuing the description of the beautiful grounds of the palace of King Uttanapad. And we do get similar types of descriptions here and there in Srimad Bhagavatam, where in different places where there's mention of different palaces, sometimes heavenly planets, even sometimes descriptions of Vaikuntha itself. We get these types of descriptions of these very beautiful scenes within which these people were living. And of course here in Chatsworth we have our park across the road, which I don't think it's safe to go there, frankly, but I mean, as you drive by, put it that way, looks quite nice. And then there was the one, Unit 2 on the left, on the hill going down, if you know that one. That's sort of not too bad. It's quite nice. There was a pond. Now it's just sort of, got overgrown. And then just at the turn-off into Unit 1, if you know what I mean, Mobini, then there's a park there with, not unpleasant. It is pleasant. And it also has a pond, which used to have water in it, but then, whatever happened. And there's another one, I haven't been up there for a while, which used to have lotuses. You remember that one? Unit 6 or somewhere up that way. It used to have lotuses, and the one devotee, Braj Bihari, do you remember him? He would occasionally bring lotuses down for the deities. So, these are sort of attempts at making nice situations like this. And some people will think that it's because everyone I don't know, but at least so many people are so much focused on money and economy and these types of things that these types of beauties are not encouraged much. They're not encouraged so much, at least one could say like that. They're not encouraged so much because it costs money to maintain them. And so therefore, like these ponds that I mentioned, Unit 2, Unit 1, they had nice little ponds, I remember. But now it's just been left to just get overgrown. But actually arrangements of this sort are very important from a cultural point of view. But it's not just Well, you can say from a cultural point of view, back some few hundred years, paintings, if anyone was to do a painting, it would just naturally mean something beautiful. You don't find, not that I know a lot about it, but something. Back in the days of Michelangelo, Rodin, and these other, even the Impressionists, Monet and Gauguin and people like that, but they were also getting a bit, not really so fine. But going back, like Michelangelo's time, a painting meant something beautiful, really beautiful. But nowadays, of course, anyway, I think you're probably as aware as I am of what passes as art nowadays, and even people pay enough money to complete the TOVP for some, at least to my eye, very unpleasant looking, sort of like nothing looking type of piece of paint on whatever canvas or something, and those are considered valuable. It's amazing. But it shows a loss of culture, a loss of appreciation of fine things, of beauty, so that buildings just become blocks, square, rectangular blocks of concrete, and even just buildings with finer features become less and less, and it's more just older ones. So it's Kali Yuga, it's all part of Kali Yuga. The age of quarrel and hypocrisy. In this age of Kali, men and women, means human beings, are always disturbed. They're quarrelsome, lazy, unlucky just to be born in Kali Yuga. Unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Kali Yuga destroys all the good qualities in people. So every now and then, though, we hear of some nice garden somewhere. Maybe a couple of weeks ago, I saw an article about one of the famous gardens of England, 35 specific garden areas with particular features and all that sort of thing. So, on one hand, the loss of these things, and you could say just the lack of inclination to produce new versions of such beautiful things, it's all part of Kali Yuga. But on the other hand, if we look at it from the other point of view, when people live in such environments, then their characters become like that. Their characters become like that. Their characters become dirty. Characters become dirty and harsh and aggressive and unfriendly and so on and so forth, that sort of thing. This is Kali Yuga. But here, this description, and like we mentioned, you get in various places in Srimad Bhagavatam, you get descriptions. There was a description of Vaikuntha in the third canto. There's the description of the airship that Kardama made, and that airship was an aerial city, and there's also descriptions there that it had similar types of parks on an airplane. No, we're talking about something truly extra-dimensional compared to today. But, and then there are other, as we go on through, we'll find other descriptions, not so many perhaps, but some, of how people were living. What was it? It was at the end of the description of the battle between Lord Shiva's followers and Nandishvara, Virabhadra, Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. So at the end of that description, I'm sure we all remember the story. It's sort of the last story that we went through in great detail, the story of Dhruva Maharaj. No. Anyway, the story of that great battle there. Sati's suicide, and then the great battle that followed, and then at the end, Lord Brahma intervened and said, that all this chaos and destruction and just horrific situation has occurred because of offense to a great personality that was Lord Shiva. No, but where was it I was reading, or we were reading, or I was reading even, that everyone, it was in that narration about the offences to Lord Shiva by Daksha, that then Lord Brahma took all these various demigods, not all the demigods, but quite a number of them, and other sort of heavenly type personalities to Kailash. And so there was a description of Kailash. Do you remember that? It wasn't a long time ago that we were reading that. The description of Kailash, Lord Shiva's abode. And a few verses, just like this, a small number of verses, but of what a scene, what a situation. It's just, it's another world, because it is. It's another world. And one reason that it's another world is because the people who live in it, they have that sort of nature where for them, they just feel, we just live like this. How could you live otherwise? You must live like this. This is how to live. And this is the situation here, that Uttanapad, it's not just that he's the king and he's very wealthy, but he's just inclined to live like that. And, even our temple here, let's face it, Radha Radhanath was built with something like that in mind, but because, I don't know if it's just the influence of Chatsworth or what it is, but we tend to let things sort of deteriorate. I don't know how the fish are doing. I don't know if there's still as many fish as there were. I remember how they used to gather. Right? You remember that? When I go out and come in now, they don't gather. What does it mean? I mean, I'm sure it means something. Anyway, so this was the beautiful situation. And of course, all these different types of beautiful situations. This is now heavenly planet, like very high level heavenly planet, very high level. You know, these people, that children of Brahma, of Lord Brahma, or grandchildren of Lord Brahma. So they're very high level as far as demigods go. They're very high level. And this is how they live. This is the way, these are the ways, or these are the environments which they're attracted to live in. And when you live in an environment like that, then generally there'll be a tendency that it will uplift you, because it's very much sattva gun. It's very much the mode of goodness. I mean, what to speak of the opulence, emeralds, staircases encrusted with emeralds instead of pieces of concrete, or, some tiles, some ceramic tiles maybe, or whatever. But no, let's use emeralds. And then the next one's, let's use rubies. Right. So such environments are created by the influence of higher modes, if we're talking just about material environments. And living in such types of environments tends to influence people towards higher modes. And therefore there is a point to having such things. There's value to having beautiful parks and things like that, where people can go and not just sleep, but chant the holy names and get nice flowers for the deities and things like this. So these environments are formed by people who have certain natures, and they influence people's natures to become formed in such ways, better ways. So therefore, it is not just good, but it's very important to have such environments. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, there are descriptions of, I should say there's one verse actually, in which Lord Krishna talks about how a person can change their position in the modes of material nature. And I extracted the verse and put it somewhere, but I've got so much information here I can't find it. You know what I mean? That's another part of Kali Yuga, isn't it? Yes, but anyway, don't worry, it's here somewhere. But I do remember a certain amount of it, that Lord Krishna, he's talking about, like we said, how one can change one's position within the modes. And so he gives some examples. Things a person can easily change in their lives. And of course the idea is to improve your position in the modes. Yeah. For example, the one, as I recall, the first one that he mentions is the place you live in. The place you live in, where you frequent that place. Yeah. That has formative effects on your character, or whatever modes you are there in the place that you're living, you will pick up those modes. Therefore, you should make the mode of the place where you live good, at least goodness, as much as possible, or even as much as possible transcendental. So, and there's a saying you may have heard, I've mentioned it on a number of occasions. If you put a Brahmin and dirt together, either the Brahmin will go or the dirt will go. But if they coexist, then the Brahmin has ceased to be a Brahmin. That's, a nice one. Yeah. So you can live in a cluttered up place, or you can live in a really nice sattvic environment. But whatever it is, whatever environment you live in, means you spend the majority of your time in, that will influence you. So therefore, if you have a very sattvic, Krishna conscious environment, that will help elevate you to a more Krishna conscious level. Oh look, I think I just found it. Can you believe it? Yes, here it is. And would you believe I didn't even note the number of the verse, but let me read the translation of this verse from the 11th canto, and this is Lord Krishna speaking. According to the quality of religious scriptures, water, one's association with children or with people in general, the particular place, the time, the activities, the birth also has something to do with it, type of meditation, chanting of mantras, and purificatory rituals, the modes of nature become differently prominent. And here's the purport, not of course by Prabhupada exactly, but based on Prabhupada. The 10 items mentioned above possess superior and inferior qualities, and are thus identified as being in goodness, passion, or ignorance. One can increase the mode of goodness by selecting religious scriptures in goodness, or Srimad Bhagavatam, selecting pure water, selecting friendship with people in goodness, and so on. Well, let's look at the so-ons. Your association. There's some sort of saying to the effect, you can tell a person by the company they keep. Someone told me a version not long ago, like less than a month ago. Show me the people someone associates with, I'll tell you what sort of person he or she is. How's that? Yeah. Then, yeah, so the place, then the times at which you do things, then just the activities you do, the type of work you do. I've mentioned before, some of you would remember, one actually disciple of mine, very nice devotee, he was a salesman. He had to travel around selling scientific equipment to different industries. So he needed a vehicle, but he sold it to go on pilgrimage to India for the first time. He came back, he had no car, so he had to use the bus. And the buses in that place are like the taxis here. No, you're here in Unit 5, you can hear the taxis coming from Unit 2, if you know what I mean. I mean, you can hear them coming from a long way away. Boom, boom, boom. So he was having to use these buses where they play the same music, and they're just jam-packed with people. Yes. And he asked me, how can I chant my rounds attentively in such a situation? You know, one person is there, the next one, two are there, and the fourth one is there. And I remember taking a train into Bombay Central once, and the devotee I was with, it was Raghava Pandit actually, he lifted one foot up to scratch his leg, went to put his foot down. There was no place to put his foot down. And I'm not joking at all. So anyway, so the devotee asked me, how do you chant your rounds attentively under such circumstances? You know, wall-to-wall people and this heavy kind of grotesque music playing. How do you do it? And, you know, what's a creative answer to that? So I told him, you don't. You get another job. So, you know, your situation is different. So your work, the type of work you do, and even within different types of occupations, there are all sorts of variations. Then your birth makes a difference. Then what you meditate on, what you think about, what you focus on. If you focus on television, well, that's going to have a bad effect, I'm afraid. Yeah. But if every evening you get together with the family and study Srimad Bhagavatam or something like that, it'll have a very different and noticeable effect. And then the chanting of mantras, or not just mantras, but the sounds you listen to. If you actually chant mantras, well, they have wonderful effects. But if you listen to the pop music or the movie music, etc., you know what I mean, then it's going to have other effects. And these things are very real. These things are very real, and they're very formative on people's characters. Yes. And I remember that one of our senior devotees elsewhere, but very senior devotee, he had been associating with someone from outside of Prabhupada's movement who was, you know, in his own way very knowledgeable, but not in Prabhupada's line. And we spoke to our devotee and said, you know, it's not a good idea. And he said, don't worry, I'm trying to learn some sort of technical things. And he said, don't worry, I have filters on. filters, if you know what I mean, so that, he doesn't take in anything which is sort of non-Prabhupada. After a while, we found he was sort of gravitating to joining the other person, and so someone said to him, "Yeah, just see, the filters came out." So filtration is best to avoid rather than sort of try to filter in questionable situations. So, but this is the point that Krishna's making in this verse here in the 11th canto, that all these different things, they have effects on us. And of course, ultimately, it all builds up to the time of death. It all builds up to the time of death. And then that's formative of your next life. And if you do things, all these types of things here, selecting the association or utilization or engagement in certain activities like that, which are not in the right modes, then don't worry, they will have effects on you. They will have effects on you. Yeah. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada really liked it when devotees lived in temples, actually. Or if you're not going to live in a temple, or if you're not able to, at least you make your home a temple. And really make your home a temple, just really. And have that environment, because it will form you. And be careful about the situation where you work and the people you work with, and what you read and what you, if you watch anything, what you watch, etc., etc. Because they'll form your character. And we as aspiring devotees, we should consider like that too. What am I, how am I constructing my life, my lifestyle, the environment in which I live and the people I live with, and even how I associate? When we do this seminar, we do a seminar about devotee relationships, and we give the devotees an exercise that at lunchtime, sit down next to someone you normally wouldn't sit next to, and start a Krishna conscious discussion. Like, you know what I just read in Bhagavad Gita? That sort of discussion. Start that sort of discussion and try to develop that discussion rather than the type of discussion which, the how are you discussion. How are you is the foundation. I mean, there's not necessarily anything wrong with asking devotees how they are. I mean, if you're actually interested or concerned, are you all right or not? But you may have read, there's a conversation of Prabhupada's with, I think, a journalist, and the journalist asks Prabhupada, how are you? And Prabhupada answers, what does it matter to you how I am? Yes. And I mean, and then he sort of, Prabhupada explores it a little bit. If I'm about to die, what does it matter to you? Are you going to do anything? No, you're just going to carry on. So, and we have these automatum conversations in South Africa. How are you? There's no answer. I'm fine, thank you. It's automatic. Press button A. But the other one didn't press button A. They didn't press any button. So yes, so it really matters. All these things matter. And this description here, well, we, frankly, as residents of the temple, we should really try to see and help. I guess it's Segi. Oh, you're initiated now, right? What's your name? Dayal. Daya Sindhu. Wow. Better than Segi. Daya Sindhu Prabhu. And we should try to, it wouldn't take a lot, but improve the environment. Like the broken terrazzo. If you know what terrazzo is. Yeah, all of that. And, the pieces of stainless steel in the joints, which have kind of, or here, at the bottom of the peacock tails, you see there's a little gap. There used to be another piece of peacock tail. So, at the bottom of the peacock tails, you see there's just a hole there now. There should be an extra piece of peacock tail. Anyway, let's not criticize, but we should do like this because it will help us if we make sure the environment is nice and clean and maintained. Maintenance, creation is Lord Brahma, destruction is Lord Shiva, maintenance is Lord Vishnu. And why not creation Lord Vishnu and maintenance Lord Brahma? Why not? Because maintenance is too difficult for Lord Brahma. Only Vishnu can do it. Yeah, he's the only one who's got the capability to maintain over an extended period of time. Yeah. So these things matter. And we, for example, Srila Prabhupada wanted us, obviously he ordered us to chant not less than 16 rounds a day. That we all know too well. He ordered us to follow the regulative principles. But he also, more or less, ordered us, although it's not on the same level of order as 16 rounds, but he ordered us to read his books every day. He ordered us, more or less, not quite as strongly. Yeah. So we should do like that. That will form our consciousness. Otherwise, we may not notice it, because there is such a thing as creeping materialism. You don't see it, but it's coming in. But you don't see it until it reaches a certain point, and then you realize, oh gosh, look at this. It's different from what it was. Yeah, so we may not notice it in our consciousness, but if we are not reading Prabhupada's books on a daily basis, and if we don't have not read, say, for a month, just for argument's sake, then there will be a change in consciousness. And I remember when I was doing traveling Sankirtan in the UK and surrounding areas. We would sometimes travel for 3-4 weeks and then come back to the temple. And we would notice when we came back that we had become sort of a little, but we could see it, a little kind of rougher, slightly cruder, and so on like that, through being out and not in the intensely sacred atmosphere of the temple. So yes, this is Krishna consciousness. And in Krishna consciousness, everything matters. There's nothing which truly doesn't matter at all. Everything has its effect from very little things up to bigger things. So we as practitioners, we really have to tune ourselves by making sure that certain things are there in our lives, and that will create solid Krishna conscious foundation, which can help to sort of withstand when some negativity happens to come. So here anyway, it's such a beautiful description. It's really outstanding. What a place. What a place. And I think, let me see. Well, anyway, that's just the one verse. Sometimes you get a bit of a sequence of verses. And I wanted to ask Ram Govinda Maharaj, what is a Karandava? Karandava, bird. Prabhupada says duck.
I never heard it.
I didn't hear it. But ducks.
All the description looks like from other world, not
from another world. That's right.
There they are saying Vaidurya.
Yes.
In the 10th canto, I think somewhere, 2nd chapter, where describing of Lord Krishna when appeared, how he looked like. There also mentioned Vaidurya.
Vaidurya.
They say that Vaidurya is only in the mukut of Vishnu.
Really?
That one somewhere I read that, but that is the symptom that is Vishnu Tattva.
Achha,
and
okay.
That changes color every second like LEDs. Is it possible for us planet to have those type of...
Hare Krishna. Any comment, Maharaj?
The Maharaj suggested very important point for us. Association, whom we are associating, how we are acting. That is very important. Association brings a lot of change in us. We don't associate with the devotees or non-associate with the non-devotees, not a long time we become also.
True.
Reading Prabhupada books should be made compulsory. Should be, everyone should read it, all the devotees. Otherwise the bhakti becomes dry. Won't enjoy it.
And the devotees must be good association also. Yeah. Not talking, not gossiping. Talking about Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions, points? Yes.
Thank you so much, Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj. I was just thinking that within the temple environment, even if we were to keep our own spaces as sattvic as we could, within the temple space or property, there may be spaces which are very cluttered and unclean. I was wondering, would that affect the consciousness of everyone staying at the temple as a whole?
If the grounds are unclean.
Not the grounds, but maybe some rooms are...
Or some rooms.
The storage rooms, or some rooms are not kept quite satvik.
I mean, if they're visible to everyone, it'll have some influence. If they're locked up, less. But everything should be kept in an orderly way. If it's worth keeping, keep it nicely. Am I answering your question?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. And I was also thinking that the temple is transcendental, and yet could it be that we may still be influenced by the environment surrounding the temple?
Well, the temple, yeah, so the point is the temple is transcendental, but could we be influenced by the environment surrounding the temple? That was the point, yeah? Well, it's possible. The noise sometimes. Sometimes you get these people driving around in these, they're sort of like attempted racing cars. You know, these noisy vehicles. And sometimes you get, you know, the boom music, you know what I mean? Going down this road, and it shakes the building. Yeah. It shakes the building. So that has some effect. It may not have a massive effect, but it definitely, I mean, in terms of our states of mind, it definitely has some effect. Because, you know, everything matters. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada came.